That day, I got into an argument with my daughter while driving, and in a moment of distraction, I rear-ended the car in front of me, looking at my car's dangling bumper. My heart sank. As a single mom raising 3 kids, I couldn't afford the cost of compensation and repairs. I thought I'd have to negotiate with the other driver, but the man just waved his hand and said I didn't need to pay him anything. He even said he could fix it for me with just some electrical tape and expanding foam. I was actually pretty nervous, bringing him back home after all. He was a complete stranger, but thinking about the repair costs I'd save, I bit the bullet and agreed. He introduced himself as Johnson. Later, my daughter looked him up online and found out he was actually a professor at a prestigious mechanical engineering school with substantial wealth, which finally put me at ease. What touched me even more was that my son actually came over on his own to help hand him tools. You have to understand, ever since my husband passed away in an accident 3 years ago, my son rarely showed interest in anything. When he finished fixing the bumper, it started pouring rain, so I invited him inside to wait it out. As I watched my kids expertly grab pots and pans to catch the water leaking from the ceiling, I was giving an embarrassed smile when there was a knock at the door. It was a delivery driver with pizza he'd secretly ordered, saying he wanted to see if the kids would like it. When he was leaving, he seemed like he had something to tell me, but before he could say anything, the kids interrupted him, yelling, "Mom, there is a spider." I didn't find out until later that he had slipped an important envelope into my mailbox. The next day, a hurricane wrecked the house beyond recognition, but he showed up again saying I only needed to spend $500 on lumber and he'd handle all the repairs. During that time, we talked on the phone more and more often, conversations flowing from house repairs to our pasts and our kids' futures. And I started to feel something different, stirring in my heart. A week later, the house was fixed, and he'd even added a skylight. The kids clapped with joy, but this warmth didn't last long. On my daughter's birthday, a newspaper article changed everything. It said Johnson had invented an energy-saving technology, and my mom was absolutely convinced it was my late husband's work. In the heat of the moment, I rushed up and slapped him, then threw him out. It wasn't until I later received the patent documents and a $100,000 check he'd sent, and found the mailbox that had been blown away by the hurricane, along with his note, that I realized just how wrong I'd been. So I drove for hours to find him, but it turned out we'd missed each other on the road, both heading toward one another. When we finally ran into each other at a rest stop, looking at his familiar face, all my regret and feelings melted into that natural, inevitable kiss.